Thank you for being here today. I want to start by asking you a question that might feel uncomfortable to answer out loud. But I need you to be honest with yourself right now in your own mind. Have you ever received praise or recognition for something you did, and instead of feeling proud, you felt like a fraud? You felt like if people really knew the truth about how hard you worked, or how much you struggled, or how lucky you were, they wouldn't be so impressed. They would see right through you. If that resonates with you, please know that you are not alone. In fact, studies suggest that up to 70% of US will experience this feeling at some point in our lives. We call it imposter syndrome. But today, I don't want to just talk about the syndrome itself. I want to talk about what lies underneath it. I want to talk about why we feel like we are not enough for the desires we hold deep inside of us. And more importantly, how we can dismantle that feeling so we can finally step into the lives we actually want to live. Let's start by really understanding what is happening when you feel this way. Imposter syndrome isn't just a lack of confidence. It is not simply being shy or nervous before a big presentation. It is something deeper. It is an internal experience of intellectual fraudulence in which people believe that they are not intelligent, capable, or creative despite evidence to the contrary. Think about it. You might have the degree on your wall. You might have the job title on your business card. You might have the accolades and the awards. But internally, you feel like a child playing dress-up in their parents' clothes. You are waiting for someone to come along and pull the curtain back and reveal that you don't actually belong there. Now, why does this happen? Why do we sabotage our own happiness with these thoughts? The root of imposter syndrome is almost always tied to our sense of self-worth. Specifically, it is tied to a conditional view of self-worth. Many of us were raised in environments where love and approval were contingent on performance. If you got an A, you were good. If you made the team, you were valuable. If you brought home money or accolades, you mattered. But if you failed, or struggled, or just existed without producing something measurable, you felt invisible or unworthy. So we grow up with this subconscious belief that our worth is not inherent. It is earned. And because it is earned, it can be lost. This creates a terrifying cycle when it comes to our desires. Let's say you have a desire. Maybe you want to start your own business. Maybe you want to write a book. Maybe you want to ask for a promotion, or maybe you just want to date someone who makes you feel truly seen. When that desire arises, the imposter voice immediately jumps in and says, "Who are you to want this? You aren't ready yet. You don't have enough experience. You aren't smart enough. If you try and fail, everyone will know you were a fraud all along." So we shrink back. We stay small. We tell ourselves that we need more preparation, more education, more money, or more time before we can actually go after what we want. But here is the hard truth. You will never feel ready. There is no moment in your life where you will wake up and suddenly feel 100% worthy of your desires. If you wait until you feel like enough, you will be waiting forever. The feeling of not being enough is actually a sign that you are growing. It means you are stepping out of your comfort zone. It means you are reaching for something bigger than what you have currently achieved. But the problem arises when we let that feeling dictate our actions. We start to believe that we must earn the right to be happy or successful or loved. And because we can never fully earn it in a world that is constantly changing, we remain stuck in this state of perpetual anxiety. So how do we overcome this? How do we move from feeling like an imposter to feeling like the author of our own lives? I want to offer you 3 specific strategies today. The first one is perhaps the most difficult but also the most powerful. It is learning to separate your worth from your output. This requires a fundamental shift in how you view yourself. You have to start treating your value as inherent rather than transactional. Think about it this way. A tree does not need to produce fruit every single day to be a tree. The sun does not need to apologize for shining on the ground even if no one is looking at it. Your existence has value simply because you exist. You are not a machine designed to produce results. You are a human being with feelings, thoughts, and a unique perspective that cannot be replicated by anyone else. When you start to internalize this, the stakes lower. If you fail at something, it doesn't mean you are a failure as a person. It just means you tried something and it didn't work out. That is data, not a definition of your soul. The second strategy is to reframe your narrative. We all have an inner narrator. a voice that talks to us constantly throughout the day. For those of us struggling with imposter syndrome, this narrator is often a harsh critic. It highlights every mistake and minimizes every success. If you get praised, the narrator says, "They were just being nice." If you succeed, it says, "You got lucky." To overcome this, you have to become aware of that voice and challenge it. When you catch yourself thinking, "I'm not qualified for this," ask yourself, would I say this to my best friend? If your best friend came to you with the same skills and experience you have, would you tell them they aren't enough? Probably not. You would see their potential. You would encourage them. So why are you so hard on yourself? Start treating yourself with the same compassion you offer others. When the imposter voice speaks up, acknowledge it, but don't let it drive the car. Say to yourself, "I am feeling afraid right now, and that is okay. But fear does not mean I am incapable." The third strategy involves action. This is about doing things despite the fear. We often think we need to feel confident before we act. But confidence is actually a result of action, not a prerequisite for it. You build self-worth by taking risks and surviving them. Every time you put yourself out there and nothing terrible happens, your brain learns that you are safe, that you can handle the uncertainty. I want you to think about the concept of good enough. Perfectionism is often the mask that imposter syndrome wears. We hold ourselves back because we are terrified of not being perfect. But perfection is a myth. It is an impossible standard that guarantees failure. Instead, aim for progress. Aim for being good enough to start, good enough to try, good enough to make mistakes and learn from them. When you lower the bar from perfect to progress, you give yourself permission to be human. And in being human, you become relatable, resilient, and real. Let's talk about desires specifically for a moment. Why do we feel unworthy of our desires? Often, it is because we believe that desire itself is greedy or selfish. We think, "Who am I to want more?" But wanting more is not a sin. Wanting more is the engine of human progress. It is what drives us to create art, build businesses, solve problems, and love deeply. When you suppress your desires because you feel unworthy, you are denying the world the unique contribution only you can make. Imagine for a moment that you could wake up tomorrow morning completely free of imposter syndrome. Imagine that you believed, deep in your bones, that you were worthy of everything you desired simply because you existed. How would you act differently? Would you send that email? Would you apply for that job? Would you have that difficult conversation? The gap between where you are and where you want to be is often just a matter of belief. It is the belief that you deserve to take up space in this world. I know this is easier said than done. Unlearning years of conditioning takes time. You will have days where the imposter voice is louder than ever. That is normal. The goal isn't to silence the voice forever. It's to learn how to hear it without obeying it. It's about building a relationship with yourself based on trust rather than fear. There is also something important to say about community. Imposter syndrome thrives in isolation. When we are alone with our thoughts, they can spiral out of control. We compare our behind-the-scenes struggles with everyone else's highlight reels on social media. We see their success and assume they don't struggle like we do. But if you talk to successful people, the ones who have achieved the things you desire, you will find that almost all of them have battled these same feelings. They just learned to move forward anyway. Find your tribe. Surround yourself with people who celebrate your wins without diminishing them. Find mentors or peers who can tell you the truth when you are being hard on yourself. Sometimes we need an external mirror to reflect back our worth when we cannot see it ourselves. Vulnerability is powerful. Admitting that you feel like an imposter doesn't make you weak. It makes you human, and it connects you to others who are fighting the same battle. I also want to address the idea of earning your desires one more time because it is such a sticky trap. We often think we need to suffer before we can succeed. We think we need to grind ourselves into dust to prove we deserve the promotion, the partner, or the life we want. But suffering does not equal worthiness. Struggle does not validate your right to happiness. You do not have to earn the right to be happy. You do not have to pay for your own joy with exhaustion. When you stop trying to earn your worth and start recognizing it, something shifts. You You stop apologizing for taking up space. You stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. You start to understand that your desires are valid signals from your soul telling you what you need to grow. Ignoring them because you feel unworthy is like ignoring hunger because you don't think you deserve food. Eventually, you will starve. So, as we move forward today, I want you to carry this thought with you. You are not an imposter. You are a learner. You are a work in progress. The fact that you feel unsure means you care. It means you have standards. But do not let those standards become bars that lock you inside your own potential. Overcoming the feeling of not enough is a practice, not a destination. It is something you do every day. It is choosing to believe in yourself even when the evidence feels scarce. It is choosing to take the next step even when your legs are shaking. It is choosing to accept compliments without deflecting them. It is choosing to forgive yourself for past mistakes and understanding that they do not define your future. You have desires for a reason. They are there because you have the capacity to achieve them. If you didn't have the potential, the desire wouldn't be there in the first place. Trust that intuition. Trust that you are capable of more than you know. The world needs what you have to offer, not a perfected version of you, but the real, messy, evolving you. So my challenge to you today is this. Identify one thing you have been wanting but haven't pursued because you felt unworthy. Just one thing, and I want you to take one small step toward it this week. Not a giant leap, just a small step. Send the message. By the domain name, write the first paragraph. Apply for the class. Do something tangible that proves to yourself that your desires matter. Remember, confidence is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to act in spite of it. You are enough right now, exactly as you are, with all your flaws and uncertainties. You don't need to become someone else to deserve what you want. You just need to believe that you already are who you need to be to start. Thank you for listening, and I hope you go out there and claim the life you desire without apology.